Hello everyone, Turner Burner here with another video for you guys. This is going to be a solo explanation video slash tutorial. It's going to be Infiltrator on the Surge, done by, I believe you pronounce it Siul. I've actually never heard it said. I've only seen him, comment certain things here and there. But this is probably, this is a brilliant solo that I wasn't watching. I didn't watch it when it first was released. I actually just saw it a couple days ago for the first time, and I thought it was brilliant. Um, but long story short, I was talking to a while ago before the solo was even published. I forget when that was specifically, but Relaxing Cody wanted to do this as well, and I don't know if you ever tried it, but we were talking about it, and I couldn't see how it was possible because at the time it was always about the stem build because you have to get so close to kill enemies, but what Soul does here is brilliant by using the original really good build for Kate, which is actually the chain and cloak batteries build. So let's get right into the video without any more delay because this is actually a really good solo. I might try to do this myself just to see if I can implement what I've learned in watching the solo. But don't hold me to that because I did say maybe, or I might do it. So what he's running is chain cloak batteries, both of his bleeds, and he's using the Nasher stem card. I can't think of what it is called when you get stem upon every kill. So the name of the game in this first section is to have Infiltrator charge their ultimate so they can eventually. But yeah, that's the first part. I'll just leave it there. Charge your ultimate by doing damage to enemies. So what he does is melee the juvies, because all damage charges your ultimate, and then he goes from there. So you get anywhere between, depending on how they spawn, you get anywhere between 5, 6 juvies straight away, and sometimes you have to trigger them by either marking them or shooting at them, depending on which angle's available. So what he does is he leverages the Juvie's health to charge his ultimate. So right now he is at a quarter or a little bit past a quarter, maybe 29% or 30%. So he, as of right now, he's going to use what's remaining of his Talon to charge his ult. I'm not sure if he does this, but I would wait until I definitely had an active before I. Yeah, okay, yes, he does this. Because since active bullets do more damage, it's best that he charges, his ultimate with active bullets. And he's almost at half right now. So, maybe he has 124 bullets. So, right now, he's just playing a waiting game, trying to get a good angle on the enemies. That way, he doesn't get down, but also can do damage on them. And there's also a certain level of waiting he's allowed to do because the Surge Venom is not that fast, so he has time to kind of like loiter here, if you will. So, and he also, again, he doesn't have health really outside of stem, so he can't get down either. So, it's just patience right here, really. Doing some damage as he can, and just ultimately just waiting. So, Venom spreading a little bit, but not too thick. I've never liked this section overall because the drones are super annoying, but it is what it is. So he's doing some damage there. It's not a ton of damage, but it's just enough to help him get his ultimate in time. But it's not great, but again, just enough. So yeah, just doing a little bit more damage. Really not much to this section. Just, try not to get Hammer Burst down and do as much damage as you can with the bullets you have. So he doesn't have a ton left, but now he's out. So there's no reason to wait there anymore since he's out. So now he just has to hope that he's done enough to this point before the Venom gets here. So, just for context when you're dealing with this section of the map, there's only one other solo I can think of where someone has went on this side of the map, and that was when I did gunner on the Surge, like you know, like it feels like 100 years ago at this point. But when I did that, I only did it so I can get salvo. So every other class, for the most part, there's really no benefit to going this way for the most part. But for gunner, it was easier to do it this way. So anyway, long story short, just to give you context of what's on this section, and I could be slightly off with the numbers, but the gist of it is a bunch of drones. I believe I don't think there might be multiple grenadiers. Now that I'm thinking about it, but I know that there's always one that's really close to you, but there's not a bunch all over. There might be a couple grenadiers, but anyway, the drones are peppering you from a distance. There's two scions. Excuse me, and there's always one grenadier that's relatively close to you amongst the drones. So let's move forward. So yeah, okay. There's more than one grenadier. For some reason, I thought there was only one grenadier. But yeah, he's marking all the enemies. All he has to do is wait and for his ultimate, because there's nothing he can do. He can't triple combo any of these enemies. He can't kill anything because the salvo scions and everything will just light him up. So right now he's only going to press forward as he needs to. So Infiltrator luckily doesn't have one of the slower alt charges, so that works in his favor as well. If it was demolitions, that little slither might be like 5 minutes. So anyway, the salvo, and because of how the salvo sounds are, he could get hit right here. So that's another thing, but it is what it is. So there's the one grenadier to the left that's relatively close. There might be like 4 grenadiers on this side, and I'm thinking about it. So, and as soon as he gets his ultimate, he used chain and cloak batteries, which execute, 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 basically. So he just execute what he needs to, and then makes more progress. So he just gets this drone. I don't know why he's marking them, but yeah, that is how he gets the Nasher. So when I was thinking about this with Relax and Cody a long time ago, this strategy is not something I considered, and that's actually kind of disappointing. But you can't think of all the good solos, so it's nice to see someone else do a really good solo. Not much to hear besides shoot and do a triple combo, so you don't need to use a second bullet. Well, actually, maybe some people don't know to do that. So you should do this with, just for context. If you're Blade Master and Horde, this sometimes comes up. If you're Infiltrator and Horde as well, this sometimes comes up, where you may not want to waste like 3 or 4 Nasher bullets, 2 to 4 Nasher bullets on an enemy. If it's not necessary, you might want to shoot like one fewer time just to get a triple combo off to spread out your ammo more. As you can see here, he has only 4 bullets, and I believe it's 5 drones in this section, maybe just 4. We'll see here in a we'll see here in a second, excuse me. So basically what he does is he shoots and triple combos them, because what happens in a context like this is if you just shoot once, they don't necessarily always act like they're bleeding. They won't get the bleeding effect from it. And what I mean by that is they're still extremely accurate with their bullets as they're dying. It's not like they are inaccurate or even not shooting when they're bleeding out. So what you need to do is, in this context, is shoot, triple combo. That way you don't. That way you can kill them faster than if you just shoot them once and let them continuously shoot at you. Hopefully I explained that correctly. So shoot, and he's about to get down, so he takes cover. So shoot, triple combo, so the guy stops shooting and goes down immediately, and then does the same thing here. So that's just a strategy to bleed out an enemy and also protect yourself if you want to utilize it. Sometimes I do it in Horde as well, but most of the times in Horde I have a Breaker Mace, so it doesn't come up as often. So right now here is the strategy at this point. So depending on how the venom spread, the Mulcher Scions in the middle could be, or sorry, how should I phrase this? Depending on where the Mulcher Scions respond, the Mulcher Scions might be slightly damaged, might not be. That depends on their spawn placement relative to this particular solo. Also, depending on, I don't know if you've done the Surge, relatively recently, but the Salvo Scions don't always come down. Now, in the context of if you kill everything on, or if you kill enemies on the right side, I'm not entirely sure if it makes it more likely they'll come down, but they're not 100% coming down unless they change something that I'm not aware of. They don't 100% come down like they usually do, or used to do, I should say, or at least when I first learned the map. So he still has multiple silence to deal with. The pouncers from the far left side will get triggered to come down because they don't have like a range where they stop moving like the drones and hunters on that side. So all those enemies will be leveraged for damage so he can have his ult to start the second act. And you'll see that here in a little bit. So I believe the first enemy that comes down is a Mulcher Scion, which can be tricky. So yeah, slightly damaged to, basically better be safe than sour since you have plenty of flashes. So one Nasher shot would have probably killed him, but two gets rid of him instantly. So we'll see how damaged this one is. Yeah, he's almost dead. Yeah, so the Venom really got both of those guys really good. So Pouncer at that distance with Nasher is going to be a one-shot kill, so that bleeds out. So he's already at nearly 3/4 on his ultimate. And he's, relatively fortunate that the Salvo Scions are coming down. So, anyway, flash, shoot, and now he has his ultimate. So now he'll be good for the second act, to where he can immediately use chain and cloak batteries. He is smartly using his Nasher ammo to where he's only coming back for ammo once he's, because I believe you get 4 bullets a box, so you don't want to you want to be mindful that you're not, like in this context, grabbing a blue box when you only shot twice. You want to maximize the ammo you're allotted because you don't have any blue boxes in the second act. So ideally you are as full as possible when starting the second act. So, and he grabs a salvo and just goes to the safe room. He doesn't, spoiler alert, he doesn't even use a salvo in the second act, but you never want to pass up on a really, really good weapon like the salvo when you have the opportunity to have it. Even when I did the Surge as Lonnie and brought the salvo with me, I don't remember using it at all either. So sometimes you just forget your original plan and you just have to abolish it. So anyway, if we recap real quick before we start the second act, he uses the juvies and drones to gain damage, and also just waiting until he has his ultimate. That's the first step. And then when he has his ultimate and then goes on the right side, he uses chain and cloak batteries to execute all those enemies on the right side. And during that time, he needs to grab a Nasher to make this class relevant. So that's what he does. He grabs a Nasher, and then he uses chain and cloak batteries to get down the stairs. And then he uses the other enemies to charge his ultimate again, so he has his ultimate to start the second act. So he uses the Scions, the drones, the Pouncers merely to get his ultimate for the second act. Because if he really wanted to, he could have already went to a safe room without killing any of the Scions and even the Pouncers. But he wanted that damage because he knew he'd have a lot of ammo for second act. So, yeah. So here we are at the second act. Has a salvo. I think he has like 30 or 29 bullets in his Nasher. and he has his ultimate. So we'll see what he does. He has stem, or now he's gotten stem, I should say. But yeah, so what he does in this act, there will be. I'll mention some things that I would do differently, and honestly, I'm tempted to try this myself just to see what it's like. So right off the bat, for me, when it comes down to chain and cloak batteries, it is nowhere near as good as it used to be, where you could get fast cloak meat shields and it's very efficient. It's very slow. The feedback you get upon kill is very slow. So I honestly wouldn't have hit my ultimate until I was almost down or dead. He still has stem when hit his ultimate, and it seems like he's still kind of like searching for an enemy. So like where he is right now, I probably would have popped my ultimate right now. That way I can maximize the cloak batteries and I don't have any wasted seconds, because like I said, there's a delay when it comes down to this ultimate, and it's not as good as it, I don't know if it's not as good as, what it used to be, where you just do quick meat shields and you get the time instantly. It's nowhere near as good as it used to be. There's a delay that if you could get screwed over with the delay, because the game is too slow and giving you credit for the kill. So anyway, as you can see, I would probably say a third of his cloak batteries is gone, and he hasn't even executed a single enemy. And that's what I'm talking about. You want to be as close as possible to the initial time release, if that makes sense. Before you, like, if if let's say if it's Kay, she says, "Now you see me, now you don't." You really want to be executing within that line of dialogue. You don't want to be searching around unnecessarily. So he had stem, so he had some room for error before he turned on his ultimate. Like I said, before, this is merely an analysis. He obviously completed this solo, but for when I'm considering attempting this, I would pop it at the last second, because since he's holding his Nasher out, the first execution is going to give him all of his stim back anyway. So anyway, that's a little thing I would do differently. And there's a few things that I would improve upon on this great solo, for when I potentially, I'm starting to get more motivated to do it, but for when I do this myself, just to see if there's some things I can improve upon of what he already done. So anyway, in a similar context, if you're about to use your ultimate as, Infiltrator, do it at the last possible second. You really want to save as much of your ultimate as you can. So anyway, so, and I don't know if he's in a habit from score runs, but I don't know why he's marking anyway. So basically, there are elites everywhere in this act. So you just have to execute him as you see him, really. I'm not sure if I would have done it this way specifically. I think I would have kind of made like a. And again, this will be paramount once / if I decide to do this, but I think I would have like started it in one lane and then went to another lane for efficiency purposes, as opposed to crisscrossing. But sometimes when you're in this mode, you just kind of like, you get surprised with certain events and you just kind of make quick decisions. So I can't say specifically what I would do, but I think I would just stay in one area before going to another area. So like maybe start far right, then middle, then left. I mean, I don't know. Just kind of spitballing here. But right now, as you can see here, he's going to get executions, and it's going to continue his ultimate. This ultimate is going to allow him to have a lot of ammo for other enemies when he's done with it, because he's getting all these kills without shooting a single bullet. So it's actually kind of nice. And yeah, just execute and move forward. It's really not much to it, as long as your B button works. So running around, hit B. So like if you look at when he executes and when he gets credit for the kill, there's a delay, and you really, if the game has an opportunity to screw you, it will. So you just want to be mindful of that. don't give it too many opportunities to screw you. So like he'll get the kill, and then it's like you see the delay there. It's too slow, so that's why you want to be careful when you pop that ult. So anyway, so he executes this elite hunter, and here's one thing here. So if you, and I can clip this link into the description, but if you are Infiltrator and how do I phrase this? And you're coming out of your ultimate, wait until your ultimate is over, then shoot. For the most part, some enemies will kill you instantly, so that's not a good idea. But for the most part, wait till your ultimate ends, and then the split second after it ends, then shoot. If you do this, you will get a recharge effect that will allow you to generate your next ultimate quicker. If you shoot out of your ultimate, like he has done, you get 0 ult charge. I guess that video didn't, really affect a lot of people, unfortunately. So and I'll put that link in the description. But if you after the ultimate ends and then you shoot in a split second, then you're gonna get ult charge. And when you're dealing with something like a Scion, it may do almost as much as half or at least a third to your next ultimate. So right now it's just typical Infiltrator stuff. There's no health because of the fact that he's not running that build, but as long as he shoots and gets stem, he'll get stem in time. So yeah, he just needs to stay relatively careful, but he doesn't need to be that careful because of the fact that, he is Infiltrator, so he can kill things relatively quickly. So anyway, just killing juvies, try not to get hurt too much, try not to get down. Scions will come. Since he killed one, he still could get 2 he'll get 2 more mulchers and a salvo. So the flash he used from everything you do in the first act will connect to what you do in the second act. So the flash from that last room before the safe room benefited there because he was able to flash the 2 Scions. I can't remember why he only has 1 flash, but a slight improvement, but merely a nitpick would be to somehow have 2 flashes going into the safe room. So, but as you can see already, if he would have killed the Scion how I suggested, he'd already have his ultimate again. So little things like that just to improve upon, an already 10 out of 10 solo. But for when you use Infiltrator on the Surge, keep that in mind for yourself. When you get Nasher, if you decide to play similar to this, when you get Nasher, you'll be able to be more effective if you get your chain more often. So anyway, he'll have his ultimate really in a second. Salvo-san has more health than Mulcher, so it's still alive, unfortunately. But he was able to get it. Same thing here. He uses his ultimate. He shoots out of his ultimate to kill the Mulcher. Not bad, obviously, but it could be better if he used that to charge his ultimate again. So, anyway. Just the little details make a little bit of a difference. So, 2 elite drones, as long as he's smart here, he'll be able to kill them really no problem. If he decides to, really. Sometimes falling back allows the enemies to trigger forward towards you, which is exactly what happens. Sometimes they're trying to sometimes the enemies are just that predictable. In elite drones, they'll basically shoot until the game tells them to stop. And then as soon as they stop shooting, that's when they're most vulnerable, or when they're reloading, I should say. So anyway, there's still enemies on the left side, but since he doesn't trigger them, you don't have to worry about them. He just has to be mindful of any straggling possible enemies here, which I believe there was an elite drone. Yep, there's an elite drone, so which is, again, not really a big deal. Mantle kick to save ammo. There's a shot grenade, and that's it for that section. So he doesn't need to worry about anything else because he's either not triggered or dead. So here's a relatively, or a section that could be tough, depending on how you play it. I think I would use Salvo here, but he decides to not do that, which is fine. It's not wrong. Um, but yeah, anyway. So basically, he uses this corner as a very good defense. So when the Scion swung, it hit that corner. So I'll run that back here for a second. So what I typically do as Lonnie or even Infiltrator, I do like some sort of side roll or whatever. Because Scions always swing with their left arm, and you always want to dodge it. But in this case, he's just using the wall to block the Scion, which I think is pretty brilliant. Keeps the stem, and you don't have to do as much unnecessary movements. So, so he basically swings at the wall, and it does nothing. He almost has his ult again, and he has 4 bullets for 1 Scion, which is plenty really. So he has the Multrason, depending on when they spawn, depends on when they come. So it actually gets a little dicey here, considering what happens. So, because the Mulcher decides to shoot, but luckily it's staggered a little bit. And that's what saved him. If the Multrason decided to keep shooting or melee him anyway and it didn't stagger, then he would have to restart this act from the beginning. So, I probably would have used salvo more there, but that's that he chose another route. It's easy to critique in hindsight when you have the benefit of hindsight, obviously. But when you're the first person to do something of this nature, it's far harder to be 100% perfect, which no solo really is. Everything spawns because he pulled the lever, obviously, and you get juvies, rejects, elite drones, a bunch of enemies, and he just uses salvo to kill everything, which, not wrong. Different ways to do this. I probably would have used my ultimate in some fashion here, but pretty much any other solo that is on the surge uses salvo to, clean up the final act. So that is pretty much it here, guys. So just a review for. Once he gets on a helicopter, I'll do my little review. So, when it comes down to the second act, because of what he did in the first act, he set himself up to have his ultimate at the very beginning of the first act. Now, remember, he started his ultimate, I would say, prematurely. If you wait until you're, I would say, almost down and then use your ultimate, you'll maximize the duration and minimize the chance of the kill delay negatively affecting you. So I would say delay using your ultimate in that regard. Don't use it literally as soon as you can. Use it at the last possible moment. That would be my assessment. Another thing is when he dealt with the Scions, when he had his ultimate, I would have waited till the ultimate died and then shot. Maybe not for the first salvo Scion because there's Scions around him and you run the risk of getting hit, but definitely for the second Scion because it was just the Multrason that came up behind him. So he just does typical Infiltrator stuff where he does some dodging and weaving, getting some kills, moving forward, things of that nature. So all in all, that's pretty much it. And then when he gets to the last part, he uses the wall to protect himself from a swinging Scion, which is in range to hit him, but hits the wall because of where he's positioned. The final part, he could use his ultimate to get out of the situation or at least delay the enemies, or he could just salvo him like he did. I probably would have, incorporated my ultimate because I had it, but obviously it wasn't necessary because he got the win. So, all in all, excellent solo. Probably one of the best solos I've ever seen, and I might emulate it just to see how hard it truly is because sometimes watching a solo just doesn't do it justice until you've experienced it. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for listening. And go check out, I think he has a few other solos on his channel. Thanks for listening, guys. And thanks for watching. You guys have a good one. Peace.